All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed that intro of how fast Grendel is. We'll get to that in a moment. But today we are talking about Grendel's build refresh again because he got a rework. And it is a very, very significant rework. So much so that I would essentially consider him to be a brand new Warframe with the same theme and general abilities. He is very, very different from how he was, and he is much, much better. Now, to address the burning question, probably, why am I not talking about Voruna today? The reason is because I would like to allow for one more day of hotfixes before I talk about Voruna, because it's maybe not the best. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But I want to allow for just like one more day of hotfixes to see what happened. Like maybe things change, maybe things occur that will make a considerable difference, but we'll see. For that, let's get started talking about Grendel. I have, as you can see by my ephemera, invested quite a bit into him, as he has been just an absolute blast to play. In terms of these shards, I'm using 3 strength shards, and I'm using 2 energy max shards. Probably best is to go all strength shards, and I don't think he really needs these energy max ones. I don't have any more red shards right now, and the 3 is way more than enough. So, warning, this build's really expensive. This is a 2 Umbral Forma build on Grendel, and of note, if you are in the business of getting an extra copy of Umbral Fiber from Simaris, you can simply use an unranked one, and this build will fit with 0 Umbral Forma. You'll have to Forma, obviously, 2 times, once for the dash here and once for the dash here, but it should all fit if you use an unranked Umbral Fiber. Does the maxed out Umbral Fiber make it better? Yes. But if you don't want to use Umbral Forma, then you're not gonna get the full thing here without it. But it's not so much like worse that it's like unplayable suddenly. This build is going to be just fine, even if you were to use the absolutely regular versions of all of these mods. Regular Intensify, regular Vitality. Probably you would go Augur Secrets instead of Steel Fiber at that point, because this is here because it also is giving me effectively like 22% strength. But like, swap this out with Augur Secrets, make these 2 their regular versions, and you've got yourself still a very, very good build. Now, let's talk about this build. So, first and foremost, you are trying to hit some thresholds in this build because there are 2 different armor strips that Grendel has. He has his new Regurgitate armor strip, which starts at 70%, I believe it is. Oh, right, I have the extra. Yeah, I believe it's 70% that it starts at. Giving us, with our 147% strength here, 110% armor reduction. That means if we spit an enemy into a crowd of dudes, they are all going to completely lose all of their armor, and that's very good. Also, the additional strength that we have is making this stronger for killing enemies, and with this ability, I have had no problem killing at least regular mobs on the Steel Path at level 200, which is, of course, the new node, is a level 200 survival on the Steel Path. This ability has had no real issues there outside of a current bug that is preventing it from dealing damage to overguards. But outside of that, this absolutely shreds dudes. And once that bug is, sorted out, I assume it will be, just absolutely obliterating enemies. So this is his new thing that needs a certain threshold for the strength. But then we have a higher threshold, which is on Pulverize. So Pulverize is very new in a lot of ways. The controls are way better. Like how much you need, like the stomach stuff is way different and all that good business. But also, there's an armor reduction on here. This armor reduction starts at 50%, so you want to eventually get to 200% strength. I don't think you need to start at 200% strength because you obviously have Regurgitate to cover your ass in terms of, armor stripping high-value targets. So with this, we're using Molt Augmented to eventually get the other 60% strength, putting us at 207% strength once we're all the way built up on Molt Augmented, meaning any enemy we get near with Pulverize will be permanently armor stripped, which is quite good. Also, the additional strength is, of course, going to make this do more and more damage, which is also very nice. Then on our 2 2 is quite different. We get 3 buffs whenever we activate R2. The first being a retaliation, which puts 10 viral procs on any enemy within like 30 meters of you. So anytime you take damage, you're just going to apply 10 stacks of viral to everything within 30 meters of you, which is of course very, very strong, especially as like just like the worst part of this ability, I would call it. The second part is that we get 2.4 times the amount of energy from all sources. That means that energy orbs are going to be giving us like 70 energy instead of giving us 25. And that is why we're actually just running primed flow as opposed to needing really anything else to supplement our energy economy, because Nourish does a lot of the heavy lifting there in order to fill our energy back up. Also, we get a damage increase. So we get 110% viral damage. Now, the really notable thing about that is that that damage also increases the damage of Regurgitate and Pulverizes damage. So it's very important that we get that damage increase, and that number gets higher and higher as Molt Augmented goes up, which only makes it better over the course of a longer mission. And then, of course, we have Feast. Feast at current, the range is good. This is the only ability that I would say should maybe have any more changes, and the change to it makes that I would make it weaker. So this is the same as it was. You can only eat 5 enemies now, and they take percentage damage while they're in your stomach, and there's a certain amount of damage whenever you would belch them out, but you're hardly ever going to be doing the belch them out thing at this point, even though it was kind of the point of anything good you could do with Grendel before. At this point, the thing about this ability is while you've eaten enemies, while they are in your stomach, they will take damage from Pulverize. And that is, interestingly, become a downside because you can't just eat tons and tons of enemies and you want to stay full of enemies. So, weirdly, this ability would actually serve Grendel's kit better if they could not be hurt by Pulverize while they were in his stomach. Because you, especially at lower levels where enemies just die from Pulverize, would be able to keep them in for like basically equivalent to like the percentage health they have remaining. Like if you have an enemy that has 50% health remaining, it does 2% damage per second. They would be in your stomach for 25 seconds before you would need to get a new one, unless of course you spend them on Nourish or spend them on Regurgitate, and you're doing that all the time. So you do need to continually eat, but I think it would be just a little bit easier and more sustainable, but not necessary, if Feast was preventing enemies from being hurt by Pulverize while in your stomach. But yeah, in terms of stuff here, obviously this is a full Umbral build. We're using Umbral Vitality, Umbral Fiber, Umbral Intensify. This is a ton of survivability. I did quite a bit of testing with other options, and like there's plenty of other mods you can use here. But between adaptation and this survivability, it is very, very tough to die, which you are very much going to see in the test that we have because I recorded it on stream earlier. You can kind of just hang out, like even against Steel Path enemies, like they are going to have a very, very hard time killing you if you are actively playing. You are going to be tough to take down. Very few things were able to kill me, mostly due to me just not paying attention were the times that I died as Grendel, or getting surprised by like a Blitz Xmas was occasionally able to take me down. But that was before I was running this build. I don't think it's happened since I invested all the way up into the Umbrals. With that, Prime Flow is our energy economy, because between that and Nourish, we're going to have plenty to do here. And then we're running Overextended. You do not have to run Overextended. You could definitely just go for Stretch and Augur Reach, and that build is fine. We tried that and had great success. So if you don't have all the ability to get like tons and tons of power strength, removing this gives you essentially plus 60% power strength, and that might be to your taste anyway. If you need enemies to, if you feel like the enemies aren't dying fast enough or what have you, you could remove this and replace it with a different mod. But I really value the super high range because getting really high range on Regurgitate allows us to clear rooms really quickly with this 16-meter radius. But yeah, super survivable. Brief Respite is here. Between Brief Respite and Augur Reach, without using a Decaying Key, using any of our abilities except, well, using Nourish and Regurgitate will both give us our entire shield back, fully refreshing our shield gate, which only makes us even tougher to take down if we are actively playing. And then we have Catapult. Catapult is what is making you super insanely fast because it allows you to boost whenever you have a straightaway, and you can boost in midair, you can boost up, you can boost directionally. There's basically a small cooldown on it between like using it in the air multiple times and then being able to just like touch the ground and continue to use it. This I would not trade out. I would not trade out Catapult. I think it is extremely, extremely good to be super, super fast, allowing Grendel to very quickly do like capture missions, exterminate missions. Really anything adding this much speed to it just makes you so much more efficient, especially at clearing lots of missions very quickly. Doing like your void visors and like all that business is just so much faster and quicker with Catapult. And he doesn't really need any tankiness or more power, so Catapult fills in the speed category, which is, of course, very good. In terms of other augments, I've seen people using Gourmand. So this is, instead of energy, consumes 200 health on cast. Glutton grants an additional 150 armor per enemy. So that's 150 times 5. It's a good chunk of armor. This is a totally fine augment. I do not have a problem with this augment. I think that if you're running it, it's totally reasonable. However, this is not competing for slot with Catapult. Catapult is in your Exila slot. That's where this goes. This is not competing with these other mods. If you're going really high investment on Grendel, I don't think there's much argument for Gourmand. You could, if you don't feel like you need all the range, drop Augur Reach for it and get even more armor, but I found that I just don't need to be more tanky than my Grendel already is. And this is adding like less tankiness than Umbral Fiber is, for example. Like adaptation is like, there's no competition. You are going to run adaptation. HP is like your big bulk. Obviously you need that because that's what the armor would be affecting. So whenever we're looking at this, we're looking at the other mods that are here. Energy economy, can't drop that. Strength, we need that. We're not going to drop 77% strength. That doesn't make any sense. And in terms of like the range, I find it to be extremely important. So Augur Reach is maybe a consideration, but not for me. And Umbral Fiber is the other one. Umbral Fiber is giving us 700 armor all of the time, and effectively, because it's affecting these two mods, 22% strength and 220% health. And that becomes a really easy decision whenever you're fighting Gourmand. This is much cheaper. So if you wanted to run this instead of the unranked Umbral Fiber, maybe, but I still feel like that is a tough fight against 220% health and 22% strength. So overall, I don't think it's great. And then Hearty Nourishment is kind of just nothing. The clearing status effects and gaining immunity for 5 seconds per enemy in your stomach is just like kind of whatever. I don't think he needs a status immunity here. You probably would be more likely to trade out Catapult for Prime Sure-Footed, because that is a mod that can actually fight the usefulness here. Hearty Nourishment, for whatever reason, can't go in this slot, so not particularly useful, at least in my evaluation. With that, he's extremely fun and good. I have had a great time. He has had no real big glaring issues anywhere, except for the bug that is affecting his 4 not being able to deal damage to Overguard. I assume that's just like kind of the flag error where like this ability is flagged to not work on Overguard and such things, because it also is a slow whenever you shoot at dead enemies. So imagine there's just some back-end bug there that'll get fixed in a couple days or so. But the only other thing that was of issue is occasionally his 2 will simply just not work. Like you'll use it and you'll heal, but it won't turn on the buffs. And that is also a thing that I imagine will get ironed out. Besides that, the only thing that I have like that I would change personally is his 1 not allowing enemies to be hurt whenever you are in meatball form by doing like the bouncing DPS. That is the literal singular thing I would change. I feel like Grendel is in an absolutely amazing state. And in terms of just the DPS that he can do, you eat a few enemies, buff up your damage, fire them out, get that full armor strip. And this is also before we have the damage increase from our arcane. And I didn't need to shoot like all of the enemies out of the my stomach here. It is more than fine, like just shooting it twice. But wanted to quickly take them all down, and you can just like continually eat and go back and forth. Also worth noting, you can do everything Grendel does from Meatball. So also I'm calling it Meatball. It's not actually called Meatball. It's called Pulverize, but it's Meatball. So while you're in Meatball, you can eat enemies by rolling over them after you've clicked your 1. So that is very good. Obviously, that's quite nice. You can use your 2, buff up, and also you can spit enemies out in whatever direction you want while you're bouncing around and doing all of this other damage. You will grow and shrink in Meatball. You do not like maintain top form as you did before, which is part of why you'd want enemies to maintain in your stomach without just like randomly dying. But yeah, using this to like bounce around maps and like deal a bunch of damage and just kill enemies is very, very strong. And also just being able to like not have to pause and like spin around to grab enemies, and just being able to like kind of drive by enemies and constantly pick them up makes it so that this is actually very convenient to do and really not a problem. Also, you can DPS enemies with Nourish by just like stomping. It deals like a huge chunk of damage even to very high level enemies that don't have armor. And enemies just can't take it. And then with just your regular speed, just like jumping and WASD, the controls here have been like really vastly improved. This is without catapult. I am not using catapult. This is just like his regular speed that he's moving at, which is super, super nice. Very, very controllable. You still can like bounce off walls and stuff by just jumping against them, essentially like, you know, using still like your wall hops and everything to get around. And this is very quick, does some extra damage. Super good stuff. And then when you start using catapult, we start going like outrageous, like ludicrous speeds. Also worth noting that while you are in your meatball, if you have any enemies in your stomach, you do not use any energy for staying in meatball, which allows you to then spend it on catapult. And like you're looking at my energy drain, it's quite cheap to keep going. We can go very, very fast for very long periods of time. And the vast majority of the time, Nourish is going to keep us absolutely topped off. So it is just a fantastically fun experience I have had playing this like essentially new Warframe. Grendel is infinitely better than he has ever been before, and it is absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the clip at the beginning of us going like super fast Sonic style with him. And hopefully you'll enjoy the Steel Path run as well. It is a Steel Path run of me leveling him because he's on that kind of strength. But it gets the point across, I think, quite well. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy that, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, let's give Grendel ye old test, little level up, little solo test, little thing. Is the new frame good? Grendel is quite good. I would say Grendel is doing quite well.
Scans show Grenier are harvesting Kuba nearby. Set off the alarms to draw them out, then steal their Kuba catalysts. Predictable. As expected, Grenier have shut down the environmental
New frame? Grendel really is, though.
Modified life support capsules. Use these to sustain your environment or attach Kuba catalysts to begin harvesting.
Okay, what the fuck? This is a new frame? I told you. I warned you about stairs. I would say you were sufficiently warned about stairs.
Life support incoming.
We killed him at 163, not quite enough yet. Fortunately, we still have to experience the bug where Xmas overguards do not take damage from his 4 yet. They do strip the armor, though, through the overguard, so at least there's that. Sometimes I get too large for the doorways. There we go.
Life support on the way.
Oops, I killed him before he got in the stomach properly. There we go. Wondering why there was gonna give him resistance. The Saren looks different. That's not quite Saren stuff. Oh, armor for you. Oh, come on. Transform the gun. There you go. Wait, did he die? Where did the acolyte go? Oh, there you are. Like, absolutely lost track of them in the crowd. Lost the sauce. Imagine being eaten by Grendel. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a good time.
This will help our cause.
I probably need to like lock down in this room a little more and stop like moving as much. Because moving a ton always messes with survival spawns. But it's so fun to schmoove. I love to schmoove. It's especially this tile though, because this tile's one of the worst ones for spawns, because they spawn so far away. Well, I'm at a strength level where I can just strip armor by being near them with my 3, so it's not a big deal. There we go. Now that I've backed off that room, we're like good on the kill rate now. Is it actually impossible to die? I could try and die. I could do my best. I'll tell you what, whenever we get to, after like the last acolyte or whatever, I will try and see if they can kill me. Because I am quite healthy. They couldn't kill me whenever it was like level 200 Xmas and shit, whenever we were doing the new game mode. Unless I was like not paying attention. So, like, I think they'll be able to, but I'm also not 100% sure. Oh, bad. Thank you for the sub. Much appreciated. God, being able to do all of his abilities while you're in Meatball is so fucking fun. Oh, I have not been turning my buff on. Whoopsies. Oh, violence. You fucking prick. There we go. He's dead now.
Life support levels. Extraction is your best option.
There we go. Pop this. I'll actually pop both of these, and then I'll just, like, hang out and see if they can kill me. They probably can. I'd imagine that they can. Was that violence or minor altercation? You're not wrong. I'll get all my armor. All my armor. Alright, so this is my extra 1,200 armor. So I'm at, like, 2,200 armor. And then you've got my health. I know I definitely won't die if I keep pressing Nourish. They'll get me there eventually, though. Okay, see, like, Nourish just pumps me right back up. Like, we're chunky. We're quite thick. Take the extra armor again, just having guys in the stomach. Each guy you have in your stomach gives you the 250. Is adaptation really necessary? It is. Without adaptation, they'd be able to kill me pretty easy, actually.
They could not do this without you.
Regardless, it's time to head to the exit. Excuse me, everyone. Oh, here, tell you what. Oh, somebody took my damn Latum. Give me the Latum. So many mooks could give me energy. Okay, cool. Now we're headed to the exit. Now we can go fast. So it's not in, like, if you're like camping out, it's not super great. But this is the augment for his 3. You get to go fucking fast. Also, his 3 just generally controls way better. And also, you get to go fucking quick. He is fast as fuck, boy. So there's also that.
They fought well.
Yeah, it's some serious heft. Also, we're maxed again, so that's pretty good. Have you tested Meatball in the plains? Oh yeah, we were doing drag racing in Fortuna. He's faster than Goss. He is faster than Goss on a straightaway. Goss is better at uphill. He's better at downhill. Yeah, obviously Titania is infinitely faster than both of them, but like, whatever.